Our scripture reading this morning comes from the Gospel as recorded by St. John, beginning with the 9th chapter, the 1st verse. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. As long as it is day, we must do the work of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." Having said this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. "Go," he told him, "wash in the pool of Siloam." This word means sin. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Have any of you ever read the book Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People by David Arnold? Anybody? No? Well, me neither. I do know that the book is out there and that this question has been asked for a very long time. People have been concerned with this question as long as there have been people with bad things happening to them. In fact, some people believe that God told Moses the story of Adam and Eve in order to answer two questions. One, where do we come from? Two, why do bad things happen to good people? Well, as your resident Bible scholar, that's one of the hats I have to wear, I can tell you that there are two biblical answers to the question. The first biblical answer is simple. Sin. It's easy. You don't you love a question with a one-word answer? You can memorize that. As Paul wrote in Romans 3:23, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But when we answer the question, why do bad things happen to good people, the first thing that happens is that we choose to have amnesia. We forget that we sin. We forget that our friends and neighbors whom we consider to be good people also sin. So when something bad happens to them or us, we are confused. We didn't sin. Why did this bad thing happen to us? Well, sin. And that line of thinking goes all the way back to the disciples and before. Because when the disciples and Jesus are walking along, they see this guy who has been born blind, and the first thing that comes to their mind is, this man's blindness is the result of sin. Whose sin was it? His parents or his? Now, just wrap your head around that question for a second. Who sinned so that this man was born blind? His parents or him? Now I can see his parents, they were alive at the time. How can you manage to sin from the womb? But they had to have an answer. Somebody, this guy or his parents, had to have sinned for him to be born blind. I cannot wrap my head around how you can sin before you're born. It just doesn't work out for me. Now, I said there were two answers. The second biblical answer to this question is the one that Jesus gave that day. Jesus said, neither this man or his parents sinned, but this happened so that the power of God might be displayed in his life. Now, I am certain that because Jesus said it, that was the right answer for that man on that day. I am also pretty sure that that is not the right answer most of the time, because that answer is not going to get us very far. It doesn't explain a whole bunch of things, and it certainly doesn't explain all the people who were born blind, deaf, autistic, Down syndrome, and all that stuff, for whom nobody ever comes along and displays the power of God in their lives. That answer is just not good enough. So I think that the best answer, most of the time, is the first answer. The best answer why the bad thing happened to good people is sin. The problem is, we need to rethink the way we interpret the answer. Now let's think about this for a minute. This is where I want to be out there among you so bad. Let's say, for instance, that I steal Richard's car. I don't know what he drove to church in this morning, but he drove in one of those brand new Camaros last night. White with the orange stripes, you know. I love that car. Reminded me of the 69 that I never had. Well, let's say I stole that car from Richard, drove it to Los Angeles where I wanted to go, wrecked the car, wore gloves all the time. I get out because of all those fancy safety systems they have today. I get out without a scratch and beat feet into the 10 million people that is Los Angeles, California. Nobody sees or hears from me again or ever connects me with that car. I stole that car from Richard and I got away with it. Now who suffers? Me or Richard? He's got a $25,000 or $30,000 pile of junk out there in California waiting for him to come and collect it so he can show it to his insurance company. Me, I'm in Los Angeles where I wanted to be and I got to drive that car the whole trip. I'm not suffering. It's Richard that's suffering. What'd he do? He just owned the car I wanted to steal. Okay, now let's assume that J.V. Van Allen is my major problem in life. So I shoot him dead. And I get away with it. Who suffers? Me? Nah. J.V. was my problem. My problem solved. I don't have to deal with him anymore. I'm fat and happy. J.V., he's in heaven. You know? He looks down from outside the timeline and goes, well, y'all be here any minute. He's happy. Who suffers? Karen. What'd she do? Nothing. We got to get over this idea that it is the sinner who suffers. It's not. If we look into the 10 Commandments, we will find 4 commandments that have to do with our relationship with God and 6 that have to do with do not hurt other people. These sins do not talk about how we don't hurt ourselves. Don't hit yourself in the head with a brick. You know, don't jump into a raging river. None of that is in the 10 Commandments. Don't do this, that, and the other thing to hurt someone else. The sinner's relationship with God is always damaged by the sin, but that is not the effect of sin that we see in this world. The effect of sin we see in this world is that the sinner gets his way and somebody else is victimized.